And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of fun today, just like I have before with all of these interviews. And Laura's enjoying some decent weather up in the state of Michigan where she hangs out in the summer. So, unlike a lot of us, she's not stuck in the sun dome. And so, one of the things I want to talk about before we get into the questions and we're talking is I always like to relay some sort of story about me and the person I'm interviewing. And actually, out of the 10 top BAs, there's 3 of them that I had never met. And so that's interesting. But Laura, when I became the chapter president in 2012, and I was talking to my a VP of events, she was always talking about this person named Laura Brandenburg. And at that time, I believe Laura was speaking with a co-presenter. Is that correct, Laura? Did you?
Wow, back in 2012.
Maybe 2010.
I was not doing a lot of speaking at that time.
Oh, okay.
Because I had just, my first daughter was just born.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I must have known you a little longer then because I knew you pre-children. You didn't know I knew you, but so she said, we got to get her to come and speak at Heartland, It just never worked out. And so I know several times through the years, we were at BBC at the same time, or we were at the same event. Mm-hmm. We just never really stopped and talked to each other. So through the years, you started your company and you had 2 children and, everything. And the first time I ever met you was at WeBad in 2019. Actually, where we stood and physically talked for a while. And I remember the day of the workshops, you thought it was very odd that I showed up at your workshop because it was for like beginning BAs or whatever. Well, part of that was I was still working for the Mutual of Omaha at that time, and I did a lot of mentoring and training. And so it never hurts to brush up on those sorts of things and maybe find a tip or 2. But to be really honest, which I didn't want to tell you at the time, the main reason I went is because I had already seen the other 3 speakers present what they were presenting that day. And that's a common problem when you attend enough conferences in a short couple of years or something, because obviously everybody's, not writing new content every week. And so, but I did enjoy it. I mean, I don't mind taking like a little mental break maybe. And I always learn something new. So some people, I'm not going to go see that. That's like, and, I don't mind that. And it was a very good, workshop. But so that is the story of how we met. And you probably, didn't even realize that at the time.
Well, when you had said you were going to tell the story of when you met, that's my first memory of it.
Oh, right.
As well. Yeah. But I was like, we must have met before that at some time. And so I thought there was going to be this surprise of when we had a conversation that I forgot about. Well, so I'm really glad. I remember that too. I remember that very distinctly, you being in the room. We were talking about, I think, the success path and
I know. Yes,
mindset.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know I have had that happen because I'm at so many events where people know who I am, and then I run into them a year later and they're like, oh yeah. And I'm thinking, we met before. So yes, and I do remember when you had written your book, and for some reason, I guess I thought that you had a partner that you spoke with, but I might be getting you confused with Ellen Gottsinger and when her and Mary Gorman. That might be who I'm getting.
Well, I could ask for no better confusion.
There we go.
Confused with Ellen Gottsinger.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably where I'm getting things confused, but
that's a huge honor. So funny, I appreciate that.
I guess I invented a partner for you.
Right.
So, let's get into the questions. Now, you recently announced you are researching starting a farm. And if I remember right, I think it's an organic farm. Now, can you explain this adventure to us? I know it's early, but
Yeah. And I'm glad you added the word researching, because when I read this, I'm like, well, starting is a little bit of an overstatement, but like I'm definitely exploring
right,
and investing in a regenerative farm specifically. So regenerative agriculture, I think of it as beyond organic. And what the concept is, there's an integration of animals and plants. And when you do that, actually carbon gets reclaimed into the soil. So, you know, wherever your stance is on global warming, like there's an excess of carbon in the atmosphere, and there's obviously a lot of attention on reducing our carbon output. When you farm in such a way that you are not tilling the soil, that animals are cleaning up the soil and releasing manure in the soil, and then you're allowing that to create nutrients for the soil, like all that whole natural organic process actually allows the soil to store more carbon. And I got really excited about that idea because as a business analyst, like I love to solve root causes of problems, right? And I can see your excitement, like, oh my goodness, like there's a solution sitting right in front of us. It just means completely changing how we grow our food. So like that's all. So that's what really inspired me around that idea of pursuing this. And I just finished a course this spring where I created a draft of a business plan for a farm. And at this stage, I'm really looking out for potential farms or farmers that would want to co-create this project, or somebody who needs an investment to expand what they're doing. So I'm looking to be really a financial investor and business mentor for a farmer. Yeah.
That's perfect. I really wasn't envisioning you and your husband out there with shovels or a tractor or something. But, you know, I just found that very interesting. And it was, you know, it was so, you know, so away from business analysis. But as you said, you know, you take a class, you get some knowledge, you devise the plan, and, you know, start researching.
Well, I mean, it was phenomenal to me because I'm in this business planning class and it hits me like, oh, you know, we all need credits for our CBAP, right?
Yes,
and I'm like, oh, actually, this is a business planning course. Like this is going to count towards my CBAP. So, and I love that it's very similar. I know we're not talking about my programs yet, but like our programs are very real world specific. And this was very much similar, where we were working on a business plan iteratively throughout the course and getting feedback from the teacher on it, as well as visiting farms and seeing how things worked in the real world. So it was a really fun experience.
Yeah, that is. And I know earlier we were kind of joking about how it seems like business analysts do not have an off button. So of course they're going to take a course and go do something, and then all of a sudden they're into something else, you know. I think that's just with the nature. And for those of you out in the audience, please put your questions in the comment area, and Laura and I will answer questions the last 10 minutes or so of the show. And if your name shows as like LinkedIn user, what that means is you've chosen to not make your name public beyond LinkedIn. And so it doesn't show, but please tell us who's out there, because I would like to know. And yes, Steve, I think this is about the 7th day in a row we have been somewhere together virtually. So good to see you again. That's never a problem. But it's just kind of funny how that has happened. Yeah, there is no off button. You're right. So do keep that in mind, because we want to try to interact with you, but we can't post anything in the comment section. So yeah, well, that sounds very interesting with the farm idea. I'll be reading your Facebook and stuff to see how that progresses.
Yeah, I think what you might see even more like I really love the metaphors of nature, and I think we have so much to learn from nature. And so I'm just still constantly like learning and reading about it, and about the possibilities of some of these shifts that we can make. And also it can apply to our careers in so many different ways as well.
Yes.
So I do see myself talking about and sharing some of those metaphors as we continue on.
How cool. That is very cool. And, you know, I've always said, almost every time I talk about something in a presentation, you have to be a lifelong learner. And when you stop learning is when you may as well just stop living, because you really need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that means you're learning.
Yeah.
And some people just hide out in the comfort zone, and that's only a pit stop. That's not the destination, So
yeah,
that's very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's so interesting. Like, I don't know if we want to go down this route, but like that whole, like, it's uncomfortable has been one of these areas where, for a while I've been in a really good comfort zone of like knowing what I'm doing. And then I'm like this whole divergent path of farming. I'm like, there's people in these programs who went to school and learned how, went to agricultural programs, and I come in and I'm like, I got this big vision for how to like change the world. So it was definitely it's definitely been a challenge to like to show up in that learner mindset and have that humbling experience. And,
I know.
And then meet with farmers who've been doing this for 20, 30 years, right? And hear their perspective on why they're so hooked into some of the practices that are also harmful to the earth, but they also create the product that most of the consumers want. So it's been a very humbling experience to put on my learner hat once again.
Exactly. How cool. When I think of organic, I think of that as probably being good, but never gave it a thought of, what you were talking about, the carbons.
Yeah.
But, well, kind of coming back to business analysis, what do you see as the biggest trend in business analysis in the next 5 years? I've asked this question of everyone, and it's interesting, the answers.
Yeah. When I was thinking about this question, I feel like we're in a realm of still continued specialization, right? I remember when I started blogging maybe 13 years ago, we were hoping that the BA generalist would kind of rise up and that would be accepted. And we're, I think, further away from that today than we were 13 years ago. But also we're embracing that now instead of resisting that. At least that's what I see in the people that I work with. And so I think we're going to continue to see that specialization, but also what the flip side of that is, instead of thinking of it as like a fragmentation of the profession, it's really like, well, business analysis is going to be everywhere and you are not boxed in. So as you think about what your career path can be, like, your business analysis skills open up opportunities in all of these different areas. And so I think that's what I see for individuals as they're thinking about where they want to go, is the foundational skills, being a business analysis, having the experience doing that in any sort of domain or specialization. Like, you're going to get to choose where you want to end up and what path you want to take.
Right. And really a lot of the things that business analysts do can be applied to any, industry or domain or whatever. It's just, there's how you do things is a little different, But it's interesting because most of the people, along with myself, answer this question that we think that the term business analyst may decline quite a bit. We don't think it's going to disappear, but we do think that business analysis has a great future. That is really, it's one of the most increasing occupations. I forget, it's supposed to increase by like maybe 20% by 2024. The last I saw some figures. And so it's very interesting. But really, I think that people in general are business analysts, but they don't know it. You write up a grocery list and you go to the store, and some people write their grocery list as to the aisles or categories or whatever. Well, those are just simply requirements. I mean, your food is what you need, you're your own stakeholder. So it's kind of funny when you try to explain that to someone and they're like, oh yeah, I guess you're right,
Yeah. Business analysis is everywhere.
Right. And even when I worked in the 1980s in claims at the insurance company, well, I was doing a lot of project manager and business analyst work then, as I was negotiating settlements on $1 million claims and things. Never struck me till several years later. I was like, wait a minute, that's what that was. So that's pretty cool. But I think we can all say that the future is bright, and there's just going to be a lot of really interesting things as things evolve. And I think there's a lot in the realm of data analytics and cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's face it, cybersecurity is everyone's problem everywhere. Anybody can can lose something.
Yes.
So what is the best advice you would give to an aspiring business analyst? And there's a caveat to this question. You cannot say that they should sign up at your company to take your blueprint program. I gave Paula Bell the same restriction when I asked her a similar question.
Fair enough. So my core advice, and this has remained the same for like the last 10, 12 years that I've been talking about this, is that you just need to start doing business analysis. And there's always an opportunity. And most often that opportunity is to start by analyzing a business process. So if you are at work, like what is a process that you do day to day, month to month, week to week? Learn how to analyze a business process and do that. If you are not in a current work situation, nonprofits need help creating their SOPs, standard operating procedures, and analyzing their processes as well. So that is another opportunity. So that, like, most people get into the profession because they have some experience. And so people start to feel stuck of like, well, if I don't have the experience, how do I get into the role? And the answer to that is you just have to start doing business analysis. And once you do that and you get noticed, is this person like analyzed this process and things are working better than they were, or they suggested some improvements. It's like you get noticed and you get pulled into more things. Yes. And then you can start to broaden your skill set, but you just got to get started.
That's very true. And I think that a lot of that with business analysts can also be tied to, they really should all be leaders, and you don't need to ask permission. Just step up and do it.
Yeah.
And that works so well. I know my own husband, who I do refer to as the IIBA widower, he's always like, a few months ago, we're talking about something. He goes, "Do you have to analyze everything?" And I said, "Well, yeah." and then other times it's like, "Now don't be going all BA on me." It's kind of amusing, but I figured out the grocery store issue by just ordering online. And so, that eliminates one issue in our lives. So.
Yeah. But I think that point about not asking for permission is so important. Yeah. Like that is what catapulted my career when I moved in. Yes. I was stuck in this editorial role, and I was really miserable at the time. Yeah. And everybody on my team was like, we don't participate in technology projects, or we do the minimum that's asked of us. And I just saw it as my ticket out. Yeah. And I was like, I went to those meetings and I'll do that. I'll figure out how to test that. Can you? And, I did that enough times. And then I had started to create a name for myself as the person who could do those things. And that created the door to move into the QA team. And that is how I moved into the BA team. So, it's not necessarily always going to be analyzing a business process, but getting yourself involved on a project, being the one who volunteers to do things in the realm of what you want to do. And that's the personal leadership of your career. And that is so important. And that's how you get unstuck.
Well, and even so, also, you need to manage your own brand. And so many people just really miss that point. And anybody that was a new BA, I always said to them, we had, we didn't really see our HR manager too much, because we mainly dealt with the Scrum Master and the product owner, and just, the manager would have known if we weren't doing what we were supposed to do. But I said, when you do have those meetings and those one-on-ones, if somebody sent you a complimentary email, take them a copy, show it to them. Mm-hmm. They're not going to know about it unless you do that, So, that it just little things like that. And I said, no one else is going to, promote your good deeds, really. you work on a project that is a success, and you enjoy your 5 minutes and move on to the next assignment. So but that's it's just so important that people.
And so often it's like it's the little nuances that I see people discredit, because these we see in participants from our programs too. Things like people showing up to their meetings, or them getting invited into a meeting, or like I was handed a bigger project than normal, right? So like it's like really acknowledging some of those nuances, or even just seeing like that the resistance in your stakeholders has started to fade a little bit because you've worked on that relationship, you're asking better questions, you're using different techniques that actually are engaging them, and you're showing that you're thinking things through. Like sometimes those are really nuancy, like they're small, and you really do have to also like acknowledge them for yourself. Like, wait, this is different than what I was doing a week ago or a month ago, and it's not. And I made a change that created this difference. So
yes, exactly. Yeah, that is so correct. That's a lot of people miss that aspect of things, and it's very simple. I think people don't want to come off as bragging or anything, but that's not what it is. You need to step up to get noticed. Well, Christine and Fabricio, great to see you. You don't have to apologize for being late, but you can catch this on YouTube, so you won't miss anything. But I appreciate both of you coming. You're two of the regulars, so that's cool. And Fabricio was on just the last time we did the show last week.
Awesome. Great to see you all here.
Starting to gather our own little gang for Optimistic Bites. That's cool. That's cool. So here is your chance to promote your business, and whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, so I think anyone who is looking to get started as a business analyst, one thing I just wanted to share, it's always a great entryway. You mentioned it, but my book, How to Start a Business Analyst Career. So available through our website and on Amazon and just about anywhere books are sold. And if you're looking for more of a intensive program, so our program for helping you either hone or really get exposed to business analysis skills for the first time is called the Business Analyst Blueprint Certification Program. And we now have the applied certification in business analysis, or the ACBA, that you earn when you finish that program. And what really sets that program apart is the real world application aspect. So it's a 5.5-month program, and you go through 4 modules. And in each module, you are actually doing business analysis work, having instructor support as you do that, and then receiving a review of your work at the end as well. And what we find is people say, like I always kind of thought I knew what I was doing, but now that I've had this like well-known instructor in the industry critique me and give me feedback, like that's scary, but now I really know what I'm doing, right? Like now I really have the confidence that I'm doing this right. And it's incredible, even as an experienced BA, sometimes the little nuances that you find that trip you up, or like, I always like overthought this part of a process model because I wasn't doing the decision diamond right or something like that. And like once you click, that piece clicks in, it makes everything else easier. So that is really our flagship program. And I'd also just invite you to check out our website. We have a ton of free resources, workshops, downloads, blog posts, videos, and check out what's available for free there too, if that's what calls you at this current point in time.
Yes, exactly. And you bring up a good point, is that sometimes it's just a little piece of something that isn't, is setting with somebody. And I know I was always excited when I was sitting with a new BA, and if they were struggling with something, and I've kind of changed how I was explaining it to them. And then I was sitting with them when the light bulb went on. I was always like a proud parent. I mean, probably sometimes they thought I was a loon, but it always gave me such satisfaction because, you tried to really bring them along and give them good advice to start with, and hopefully take away some of the heartburn that they can create for themselves. That's the key. But I always used to get so excited about that.
I know that experience well. And now I get to see our instructors have that. Like,
yes,
there's that moment when that participant gets it, right? And you
yes,
go from, you're like, I know it seems like we're being a little nitpicky about this, but it's actually really, really important because
right.
it makes everything else easier once you conceptually get it. And then you internalize it, and it's just part of your internal DNA of how you do business analysis. But
Right. That is so key. And it's like I would always explain them, explain to new BAs, if you don't understand something and we're going through like a 10-step process, please stop me on step 2. Because if you don't, you're really going to hate me by step 10, because you're going to be so confused you won't even remember what company you work for,
Right.
And so, because it's just sometimes you got to draw a picture, sometimes you have to like explain stuff, people are so different, you just have to really do that. But well, you have kind of a stable of some pretty big names in your company too, so you're very fortunate to have
I am absolutely humbled by the people that are chosen to work within Bridging the Gap. It like floors me every day. Yeah. And that they do it because they love it. Like, I mean, and we talk about, I can love on my instructor team all day, but like they are there because they really love the work and they love to see the light bulbs go off. And it's really cool to have such an incredible team.
Yeah. That's what's very key. I know the thing that tripped me up was the difference, and this is going to sound funny. I hope I give everybody a good laugh, but I always had trouble figuring out the non-functional requirements. I would always get them confused. And I think it was the last thing I was kind of reviewing and mumbling to myself in the car as I was getting ready to go in the building to take my CBAP test.
Yeah. Those are not my favorite either.
I mean, for sure. The LTs and the ITTs. Well, no, I mean, at least I was a version 2 CBAP. So I had a little smaller book to read, which I'm sure you were the same way. But it's just crazy how, the ILTs and the ITTs, blah, blah. And then you're like, it just didn't make sense what they were. But I don't know. At least I've gotten beyond that. But that's kind of funny. Yeah. Fabricio has his humor in full gear. He said the insights happen when you bridge a gap. Thanks, Fabricio. Now, Christine has a question. One of them is, can you suggest how to track that success? And I'm guessing you're asking about promoting yourself. And then you say, I need optimism. Well, I tracked it various different ways. If it was like an email or something in writing, then I either made them a copy or sent it to them, electronically. I also made time to bring it up in our one-on-ones. We had a discussion like every 2 weeks, and it was kind of irritating because it just, you were rehashing a lot of stuff that really I didn't think needed to happen every 2 weeks, but whatever. And I just always made sure that they knew. But a lot of times people would either stop to talk to them, or they would have already told them about any of us who did something good. And that was really gratifying, because I always prided myself on my relationships with the stakeholders. And I'm kind of a proponent for people being specialists. And I think that's because for most of my BA career, I supported the same general department, a lot of different pieces of it. And I think when you grow old with a lot of people, that, you can develop a relationship, Now, they weren't always happy with what we did, but, they chewed when they didn't like it, but they also gave compliments freely when things went right. So that's kind of the thing, there. Now, Christine says she's taking an LinkedIn BA path for the certificate right now. I didn't realize BA is so young as a profession. I think people have been doing it for decades, but the words business analyst and project manager just hadn't been invented or weren't used. I'm not really sure. And now she's saying, I'm looking to track the growth of the success from zero trust to stakeholders trust me. You will know if you are succeeding, because I know that's what you're saying. You're asking me. The best advice I ever had from two BAs who I don't think they even knew how powerful it was. But when you're talking to a stakeholder, and really when you're talking to anyone, you need to treat them that they are the only person in the world at that moment. And if you do that, then you have their trust and confidence. And then it's all good from there. And sometimes it's the little things. When we used to be in a building together, if you're in their office or their cube and you see like something about Wimbledon, you might ask, do you play tennis or whatever? Or if you see something about golf. Now, you don't have to go buy a set of clubs or buy a racket and suddenly follow them around. But you just have to really just ask them about something they care about, and they'll be happy to talk about it. I always loved asking somebody about a picture on their desk of their children, because most of the time they would laugh and say, that's from about 15 years ago, and they look just a little bit different now, But you've reached them on a personal level, but you don't have to be their best friend. And that's what I found. It was the relationships that I made. And especially if you work for a large company, if you have a very active network that you nurture, you can get stuff done in half the time that a lot of other people can. And you know who to talk to. But at the same token, you have to be prepared to help when people come looking. I hope that helps you.
Chris, can I share something about that too?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this, like, when you feel, if you're really feeling like, I think everything you gave advice about building that relationship and trust, like all of that is really great advice, and we need to constantly be investing in that. And also, if you're really feeling like you're starting from zero, and you want to track your growth path, one of the really simple techniques that I use and I coach people to use is just to take an acknowledgement of your wins each and every day. And so often we want to wait for like the big win of, that stakeholder like sent the email, but it could just be like, they didn't roll their eyes at me this time, or whatever, like whatever you feel like when you leave a meeting or leave a discussion, what were like the things that went really well, or what were the questions that you felt you asked that were really on point, and just taking that time to acknowledge it for yourself, because often what we're looking for from others, actually we need to give ourselves first. So if we want others to trust us, it actually means we need to trust ourselves. Right. And once we trust ourselves, we start to emanate that, and then people will also trust us. And that's not so much like a big picture, like, are you a trustworthy person, like a high integrity person, but like, do you trust yourself doing the business analysis work, right? Your confidence in your abilities. And the more confidence you have in yourself, the easier it is. You emanate that, and then people also have confidence in you, because you're just like, of course, this is exactly what I should be doing. Exactly. And one of the ways to get there is by just keeping track of your wins and looking at how you're improving in terms of comparing your current self to your past self, instead of comparing like your current self to some ideal future self that you have in your head. Because then you're just going to feel like a lack mentality of like, oh, I'm still not that person, right? As opposed to, but I'm way better than I was yesterday or last year or last week.
Yep. You just need to be a little better each day. That's the key. And Steve, you're very right. Just a nod of acknowledgement, sometimes is what you'll get. And Christine, I'm sorry. I think that we've answered her question. So that's good. And Fabricio says it's trusted advisor. And that's very true. That's very true. That is. What I can't believe is how we are coming down to the final few minutes. I don't know where this time goes. Of course, two BAs, they could talk forever. I always remember Kathleen Barrett telling me one day when we were at a conference together that when they formed IIBA, there was like 23 business analysts or something. And she said the first thing we did was hire a project manager so we'd get something done. And that, boy, those words have stayed with me for a while. It's kind of funny. Does anybody have any other questions for either of us, or no? Okay. Well, I do thank Fabrizio, Steve, and Christine from commenting. I'm sure there's more of you out there, but just not talking. Just not talking. Well, Laura, I really appreciate your time today. I know I was teasing Paula Bell when she was on because she wasn't on the day I found out that she had went to work for you, but I found out right before this show, and I said something about it. And I know even later that night I was on a meeting with a few people at IIBA or something. And I said, yeah, you know what happened today? And, they thought I was making something up or something. I was like, no, this is hot off the press. Christine wants to know, how are your girls?
For sure. And I just want to comment on Paula too, because I talked about my instructor team.
Yes.
But yes, hiring Paula, I mean, she's been a contributor to Bridging the Gap for the last 6 years. So we've worked together for a long time, but bringing her in as full-time director of operations is like a game changer. And when you talked about the IIBA hiring their project manager,
exactly.
So get something done. Like Paula is a great VA. She's also a really good project manager. And I feel like she's bringing that, as well as all kinds of business analysis capabilities and structure and frameworks to our company that is really setting us up to be able to serve more people. So it's been awesome to have her like officially on the team too.
Right.
And as far as how my girls are, they are 8 and 10 now. And they're currently watching shows, which I'm grateful. Our internet seemed to be stable.
Yes.
And even though like that's our entertainment sometimes during the afternoons when I'm doing stuff like this.
Exactly.
And they are, really succeeding academically, and each have very different personalities. And it is humbling to realize like how much and little influence you can have on their lives at the same time. And so thank you for asking, Christine.
That is funny,
Yeah.
It's amazing how different they can be in the same house,
Yeah.
Well, if you want some really good free resources, go to Laura's website, because it is a very good website. I've looked at it for many years. And if you are starting your career or changing midlife with a new career and you want to be a business analyst, she does have a very good program. So go ahead and if you want to really start out right, that's probably one of the best ways. That's what's so wonderful about the business analyst community, because we all promote each other and help each other along. And definitely having Paula Bell is a big ace in your repertoire.
Yes, it's pretty amazing.
I was teasing her when she was on. I said, I don't know that I could be your neighbor because I know how good all your food is, particularly your baked goods. But I said, if I lived next to you, then you'd be dragging my rear to all of your activities, and I might, get enough exercise that would work out. I always tease her about that. So, I'm always teasing her about when do you sleep, because she's into so many things, and I have no room to talk about that. So, we're even there. But seriously, I really do thank you for taking your time out to talk to me today. And who knows, maybe we'll be talking about a farm a few months from now or something, and have you back to talk about something. Maybe if it's not the farm, it's something else. But, it truly was fun. These are always fun. They're just never enough time.
And so great to see so many familiar names too. I see Steven talking about the early days of Bridging the Gap. He had written some articles way back in the day. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Really awesome to see all of you. It's really good. Thank you for being here.
I remember when you were totally changing your business and things. I think it was right before you had your first girl or something. You totally, I'm not speaking anymore right now. And you really kind of converted the business, so to speak. And so it's kind of neat to see all that always.
Yeah, we could do a whole show all on that.
Definitely
there was a lot of pivoting in the beginning to figure out what was going to work.
Well, yeah, and I can relate to that, since just very shortly after I left the building at Mutual and dove into entrepreneurship, that COVID stopped the world. So for the first couple of years, all I did was make reservations and cancel them. So I felt like more of a travel agent,
Yeah.
Anyway, well, everyone who joined us, thank you very much. And Laura, thank you. And I believe we might be having a show in early July. I was talking to one of the other top 10 BAs, and then we will either have a break while I deal with my health issues, or possibly maybe I'll have guest hosts. I don't know. If it was good enough for Rush Limbaugh, then it will be good enough for me. Steve, are you asking that question of Laura or me, or both of us? Silence.
Why don't you answer, Judy?
Well, I should be packing my bags to go to BBC, but we all know that is not happening. But I do have some plans to speak virtually for a chapter at the end of July, and then I just in the last week or so have been accepted to speak at a few conferences that they're in the very early stages. So I don't want to, start rambling about them. I know that I'm speaking at 2 PMBA conferences. One is Toronto in October and in Washington, D.C. in November. So Laura, are you out on the trail at all?
A little bit here and there. Okay. I've been very selective about speaking and mostly looking for virtual, online, and keynote opportunities. So, it's one of those things that is important, I feel like, to get out there, but also just need to be the right opportunities. So I don't have anything, I think, specifically lined up on my calendar, but some podcast opportunities, which I love too. Kind of watch for if you're a podcaster, that's been my jam lately. And I love any referrals to podcasts that would be good to talk about business analysis on. So
okay, well, that's fun too. For podcasts and things like this. So,
and I love LinkedIn Live. I think
there you go.
First time I've done a LinkedIn Live, and I'm like, all right, let's see how it goes.
Very cool. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, and everybody have a good rest of your week. And if you're going to BBC, have a drink or two for me, and have fun. Bye, everybody.
Thanks so much, Judy.
Thank you, Laura.